Well, there's only one driver of the day after the Canadian Grand Prix, and that was the track marshal. Yeah, that was fun to watch. Get great excitement there. I'm the ND Ninja, and you can see that it is baking in here. I was very jealous watching the Canadian Grand Prix, seeing that it was cloudy, cold, and raining. I was like, that would be lovely right now. But hey ho. So it's quite interesting that we were talking about a certain driver last week. And it's kind of been a premonition for what we're going to be talking about this week. And that is the OGR George Russell, the man himself. So, obviously, let's get the brutal stuff out the way. It's horrible to get a DNF, especially when it's an engine problem, because ultimately that's just kills your entire race. There can then be the panic of, is it going to cause penalties when it comes to machine problems and everything like that, and end up having like a 5-place grid penalty as a result of replacing stuff? I don't know. But I feel like we kind of got to talk about the stuff that kind of didn't happen on the Sunday race. I mean, there was one incident that it did happen on the Sunday race, but it mostly happened on the Saturday. That certainly made me feel a little bit awkward. This situation. Now, don't get it wrong, because this could look like one completely different thing, which is Kimi Antonelli has gone in for an intent wreck on George Russell as he's going around the corner. But no. George Russell pushed him off into... well, I say pushed him off. He was... he got his elbows out. He nudged... Antonelli went round the outside of turn 1. And George Russell went to the edge of the track. And Antonelli had nowhere to go. Now... here's the thing. Did George Russell do anything illegal according to the rules? No. Of course he didn't, right? You race hard and fair. And as Martin Brundle correctly pointed out on F1 TV on the Sky thing, was the fact that when you're going around the outside, your wheel has to be in line with the wing mirrors of the car next to you to have that chance. Kimi Antonelli's wheel was around like the sort of the side pods, so it was kind of close there, but technically it was still George Russell's corner. However, it's your teammate. It's your teammate around what is essentially a hairpin chicane. It's gonna go badly, and Antonelli was angry, and understandably so, and I think that affected the rest of the race there. But ultimately, that was the big thing, and it didn't get investigated. Why would it? It's between two Mercedes drivers. I mean, the way... there's a few things that I have problems with F1, and this is the thing. The problem I'm going to have here, I'm going to mention it, is that I have a problem with George Russell, and then I have a problem with how F1 is doing its investigations. So let's start off with George Russell. Yes, he didn't do anything illegal. But because it's your teammate, would you really risk knocking the both of you out just so that you don't lose points to your teammate? We've seen it before. We've seen it between Verstappen and Ricciardo. That didn't end well. We saw it with Rosberg and Hamilton. It was fun, but was probably heart attack city for Toto Wolff and the Mercedes guys. Have we really seen it anywhere else? I'm trying to think right now. Probably Red Bull between Vettel and Webber. Or was it Malaysia? 2012, I think it was. That didn't go down too well either. It's not a good look. If you're a Mercedes fan, you're having a heart attack. If you're a George Russell fan, you're going, yes. But everybody else did not like that. And I think what ended up happening was that everyone was kind of rooting for Antonelli on the Sunday because of how he was treated on the Saturday. And, 17-year-old kid that, absolutely dominating the sport, 4 wins in a row right now. Impressive stuff from him. But like I say, my problem with this is probably more in stewardship. And don't get me wrong, this is a problem in other racing categories as well. It's even a problem in sim racing. That for something to be investigated, unless it's absolutely egregious, i.e. somebody at the back of the grid has played dominoes within the entire front of the grid and crashed into all of them to the point where there's only the guys that started from the pit lane are still racing. Normally, the way in which it goes is the team has to log a protest to say that's not fair. You hear it all the time. Driver thinks they've been pushed off. What does the engineer go? We're looking into it. Wait, why are we looking into it? Why are FIA not looking into it? Why are the stewards not looking into it? We're looking into it. Reason being, if the team thinks it's against the rules, they complain to stewards. In fact, we saw it. I know rules have changed since 2021, but the amount of times that the teams were on the radio to the FIA, to Michael Massey, nothing's changed. The reason why this wasn't investigated was because it was Mercedes on Mercedes violence, and are Mercedes really going to ask for an investigation that could cause a 10-second penalty to George Russell that, yes, puts him behind Kimi Antonelli, but also puts him potentially behind other cars as well? Because the way this race was, Lando Norris was also within that 10-second picture. If you're Mercedes, you're not really going to risk that. So why are the FIA not going, no, we need to look into this? That's what you need that neutrals, that situation for. Think about it in any other sports, right? If somebody did, let's say in football, let's say player violent conduct to another player on the pitch, side tackle, studs up on the leg, is it really going to matter whether it's the opposition player or his own player? No, it's still dangerous and he's still going to get into trouble for it. That's the problem that I find with this. Real problem I find with it. For me, Antonelli was cheated out of the win by this move. It was naughty, and George Russell was lucky in both instances. Not lucky not to get a penalty, lucky not to get wiped out by Antonelli as he's trying to get control of the car. And ultimately, we've now seen the first break, because firstly, George Russell, he's apologised for the weekend, but apologised for throwing his bloody headrest. By the way, I'll speak about that in a minute. But he didn't apologise for this. He thought it was fair. And this, to me, and the radio conversations, tells me that Antonelli is already becoming a more mature driver than quite a few drivers on the grid, including George Russell. If you hear the radio messages between Antonelli and Bono and Toto, and yes, I know he was told to calm down, he was passionate, but Kimi was all, is this how we're supposed to be racing? Is this the way we're supposed to be? Is this the way we're supposed to be behaving? Antonelli straight away going, this doesn't feel right. And it did happen also on the Sunday, so George Russell clearly didn't learn. And we're going to be in a situation where Do you know what? I'm actually going to make a prediction on it. I reckon we're going to see a proper dual Mercedes wipeout a la Barcelona 2016, where they both get wiped out. And, we might get a rookie on the grid. Maybe that Isaac Hadjar wins the race at the expense of Antonelli and George Russell wiping each other out. I don't know, right? But it feels too aggressive. And Antonelli was well within his rights to be there. George, like I say, no one's done anything wrong, but it's too aggressive. And I suppose I know that I might be a little bit softer on how I feel that rules should be in place. That I watch sim racing stewards, and the way that sim racing is normally done is that if somebody is quite a way alongside you, up till let's say the side pods, you've got to drive as if they're there. Now, it might still be your corner, but you've still got to treat them with the respect. That felt more like a push defence, not blocking someone, pushing them off. That's not how we enjoy it. We enjoy racing when it's hard, but fair. I know that Hamilton Verstappen's was down to like an energy situation, but that one, I mean, this is the thing. I'm a Hamilton fan. I was worried about Hamilton passing Verstappen because we know how aggressive Verstappen can be. Verstappen was respectful in his defence. He could have gone across to the side, blocked Hamilton, done exactly the same to Hamilton that George Russell did to Antonelli, and he didn't. So Verstappen's learning. I don't know what's going on with Russell. But now, the thing that he apologised for, throwing the headrest. And guess what? I've got a problem with that too. Because he got fined for that. Or it's a suspended fine, isn't it? Or something like that. Like, it's 40,000, which doesn't mean that much to George Russell. And it's, if he does it again. Again, this is a message to the FIA. Why are we making a big deal about this now? Why is this such a big deal now? How many times have we seen drivers chuck their steering wheel out of the car at full force? Spain 2016, he threw a steering wheel on the track. And look, I mean, I've already got comments in my chat of like going, it was there because the track was still active. Okay, why was it still active? Car stops on the track and you don't immediately bring out a safety car or a virtual safety car. You serious? That's on you, FIA, not the driver. For me, the driver is well within his rights to be frustrated. Absolutely frustrated. And look, here's the thing. Chucking the headrest out, right? He chucks it in front of the car. I think the Mercedes car that he's in is probably a bigger problem and bigger obstacle. For me, that's been another problem with this. But we've seen it so many times where the FIA takes their sweet ass time when it comes to putting out safety cars. In fact, I'm not even sure there was yellow flags, which is a bit concerning. What is and isn't shown to the FIA? I know it was fairly sudden, but they would have seen immediately something going on. No warnings coming up? That George Russell is all of a sudden now doing 60 miles an hour when he should be doing 120? Nothing? It's mad. And if we are, like I say, if we are going to be in a situation where we're fining drivers for chucking things onto a live racetrack, why is the stance only being taken now? And secondly, so are we going to fine the FIA for every time they do that? Every time they forget to do something, So worrying. And by the way, I'm just going to add this one on there as well. Did we see anything for the time where Piastri crashed into Albon? You know, when he yeeted him out in the hairpin, and there was debris absolutely everywhere, as little tiny bits of Williams and McLaren were shredded all over the track. You know, puncture problems. No one did a freaking thing. It was still there. It was still there. There was no safety cars. There was no virtual safety cars. In fact, you probably need a full safety car to get them all bunched up. It was a bit ridiculous. And for me, look, there are certainly problems when it comes to drivers. And it's really important to mention that. George Russell was being a jerk in the way that he was on the Saturday. Liam Lawson was very aggressive in his defending to the point where it felt a little bit unsafe. Isaac Hadjar, my own boy, I'm not going to defend him. He did a very, very late move on Charles Leclerc. There was a lot of ridiculous behaviour. Piastri, another good example. For some reason, Piastri struggles when he's around really slower cars. I don't know why. Azerbaijan and now this. But there seems to be... I don't know. Do you know what it almost feels like? It feels like putting a request in with the FIA stewards when you're doing a race, whether it be an instant or not, you log a ticket with them, and they go, yeah, we'll get back to you in 3 to 5 business minutes. There ends up being such a delay on responses, and it's going to cause problems. If I forget that, it's already caused problems. Was it Qatar last year or Qatar the year before, where there was fiberglass on the track or carbon fiber on the track that eventually caused a puncture about 5 laps later? We're going to have that all over again if the FIA don't sort themselves out. And I know there's this worry about making a yellow flag a virtual safety car or a full safety car a red flag because it removes some competitiveness. The one thing we've been consistent on this channel is entertainment doesn't matter when it comes to F1. Safety matters most of all. The last thing I want to be seeing is, oh yes, it's absolutely exciting, but drivers are now crashing as a result of poor maintenance of the track whilst the race is going on. That's the last thing I want to see. And the thing that worries me the most about this is I don't think the FIA will do a damn thing until it is way too late. We don't want to see that. We had a lucky break in 2020 with Romain Grosjean. The way that this is behaving, we could get the same. On a more positive note, I'm glad that my thoughts about the way the cars are designed and the fact that they can, they're closer to each other to be able to pass each other and things like that. I'm glad it's working. It's really fun to see. It's great, exciting racing. We had a little watch party. We had so much fun watching it. But yeah, the regulations are now sort of working. Now all that's left is the basics. The drivers don't behave like jerks, and that the FIA knows what they're meant to be doing and is competent. And we're in the situation where probably fans are better at it at the moment. Now, you can't control the drivers. Drivers are selfish human beings. That's the reason why they end up being world champions. Because they're selfish. But in terms of the FIA, you are not running a show. You are not running a theatre for the fans. You are running a sport. And yes, it's meant to be fair. Yes, it's meant to be competitive, but it's also meant to be safe. And the last thing I want to mention as well, like I say, congratulations to Kimi Antonelli, 4 wins in a row. He's now got like a 40-point lead over George Russell in like the 5th race. insane. This could be a repeat of Oscar Piastri last year, but you never know. We might be into a really interesting point. And the thing I love about it is Antonelli seems to be really loving life and just being full of joy, which I guess you would be if you're winning the world championship at the time. Great to see that Ferrari starting to have something about them. Great to see Alpine doing well, and Williams got a point. It's not the podium I'm hoping for this season, or the 5 podiums I'm hoping for this season, but it's a point. And in the meantime, Aston Martin continues to be slower than Lance Stroll if he was walking. But anyways, those are my thoughts. There's some controversial ones there, I know. I'd love to know your thoughts down in the comments below when we upload this. And all that's left to say is don't forget, guys, to like, to share, to subscribe, and to take care.